Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1. No touching of the hair or face. Of course. And that's it!
You play as a unicorn.
I see assholes like you every day.
Every fucking day. Think you gonna get away with it? Not up in here!
Not up in here!
The meatloaf! Fuck! Okay, fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
Welcome to Game Theory. Join me, your host Souls, and my co-hosts, Tastes Like Chicken, Hey Carnut, and Lemon as we discuss the latest gaming topics.
Guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
What?
Do what? Let the dogs out. You know, like, who let the dogs out? Who brought this guy along?
Hey guys, welcome to Game Theory. This is our 5th show. We got Carnut, we got Chicken, Zeroy, and Bob. Welcome to the show, guys. Alright, so for our first topic of discussion, we got the graphics for Battlefield 3. Personally, I think they're pretty impressive, although not as impressive as I've seen. What do you think, Rob?
I concur. I had pretty high expectations. The trailers looked pretty frigging magnificent, frankly. I was hoping for a Battlefield 2 with more photorealistic look and lighting, and instead it looks more like a more polished Bad Company 2. Now, that in and of itself is not a horrible thing. I think the graphics still look wonderful. The lighting is fantastic, but it's a little bit less than I had expected and been led to believe from the trailers. To offset that, my understanding is that the ultra settings and ultra capabilities may not in fact be in the beta. So I am reserving my judgment on that area of the game until the game's released.
Okay. Chicken, what do you think? What do you think of the graphics?
I think the game is pretty damn good looking. Like Rob said, the textures aren't top notch. I don't know whether it's just they aren't in the beta and you can't crank things all the way up, or if I just haven't set it up right, which is probably the case. But so far, it's not the worst looking game out there. Just gonna hold off and wait for the full release, and then I'll tweak the game up and make it look as good as I possibly can on my rig.
Fair enough. What do you think, Bob? You like them?
So far, the game's been pretty solid. A couple bugs here and there, but I think it's going to be a solid performer.
Okay. What do you guys think of the vegetation, the terrain deformation before they disabled it, the lighting, the immersion, basically? What do you think, Rob? Does it drive you?
I think it looks, the lighting's fantastic. They use a technology from Geomerics that allows them to have just a really vivid lightscape in the game, and it helps to push you over the edge of your brain being fooled into the possibility of what you're looking at is real. I think the environments are fairly convincing. The motion of the trees and shrubs and grass and things, and it lends itself well to a pretty immersive experience.
Agreed. It's amazing how much lighting and good vegetation, just details and everything. It's pretty good. What do you think, Bob?
So far, it's been very good. Been fun to play. Haven't had too many issues.
Do you like the destruction?
Yes, I do actually like the destruction.
Cool. What do you think, Chicken? How do you think it is immersive, the game?
Well, just the way your character moves when you run, extremely fluid, feels really natural. Stuff like hurdling obstacles, fences, pretty cool to see first person wise, and when you watch another player do it, It looks really natural. It's all cut together well. It's not like other games where the actions are pieced together and you can totally tell. Somebody runs up to a car. I think I saw in the beta a guy do a hood slide across a car. I'm not 100% sure I saw it, but it's something I kind of caught out of the corner of my eye. And just the way they run, it's pretty smooth. They hop over stuff quite naturally. I know some games, modern, no, not Modern Warfare, Black Ops, the dive motion in that kind of looked a little bit cheesy and not done too well. Other games like the hurdle in Red Orchestra 2 was a little bit glitchy that way, but this is extremely natural and fluid moving and really cool to see. The destruction, you shoot an explosive round at a building, it chunks apart. I've never blown up a wall, but it kind of looks how I think it would look, really natural and doesn't fall like a whole wall. It kind of pieces apart, and it's pretty cool.
That's what it did in BC2, I noticed. If you shot like even a pistol at a wall, it would start chipping away at major parts of it. And it seems like in Battlefield 3, they've really tweaked the destruction to be more realistic. Um, and the movement is stellar. I mean, they're ant. What is it, Rob? Ant? Is that what they're using? EA
Yes.
Sports. Okay, yeah, that stuff is really good. It's like Chicken was saying. It feels pretty real. I mean, it makes you think that you're actually in not quite real life, but I mean, it's really good. What did you have anything to say on that, Bob?
No, the gameplay's been very well. I haven't had any issues that way at all.
Okay. Chicken, what did you think of the movement and just the new animations and stuff?
Well, I already talked about the movement. The animations are pretty cool. Uh, Zero, what did you think about sort of the immersion and movement stuff?
Yeah, excellent. Probably one of the best I've seen on an FPS so far. Very smooth animations, whether it's yourself looking at your weapon, your arms, your legs, or yourself looking at the other players. If you take the time to do that, sometimes it's pretty amazing. As you said, the player doing a sort of a plunge over a car or something, a slide. I've seen that quite a bit, and it's very impressive.
Now I know Rob, you had high expectations for the sounds, and I think it's safe to say they were met. What did you think of them? More realistic than Battlefield Bad Company 2? What are your thoughts?
Battlefield Bad Company 2 had pretty good sound, but I will say at this point, from the amount of time I've spent on the game, listening over a pretty darn decent audio system, that it may have the best overall sound of any shooters I've played. The weapon sounds are very nicely recorded within the constraints, of course, of what you need to do in a game. You can't really have weapons realistically loud. You'd have players going deaf. But they sound correct, and it's very impressive, the environmental effects. The echo, reflection, etc., that you get that differs whether you're in an enclosed space or in a courtyard or out in the open definitely helps the immersion in the game for me. It sounds the way it should sound. Anyone that's fired a real weapon in different areas will immediately recognize the correctness of the sound. And also the voices of the other player avatars, the directionality of them, and the soundscape of enemy and friendly fire. It all sounds correct from an audio standpoint, and really helps the game for me as far as feeling real.
Cool. What did you think, Chicken? How did the sounds? How did they sound?
Uh, pretty cool. When you are running out in the open fields out in Caspian border and a helicopter flies by or a jet or something, totally sounds, of all the games I've played, the closest thing to what it would actually sound like in real life. I know in the whatever the rush map is when you're underground in the tunnels and you fire off an RPG or something, it it sounds pretty sweet. And when you're on the receiving end of one of those or it flies right over your head, it's definitely an oh shit moment.
Definitely, it's like, Zoom. So going on to the next one, I take it you guys didn't have many bugs with the beta, did you? Rob, Chicken?
I have had no problems with the beta from day one before it was the open general public beta. So during the few days of the private closed beta, it installed fine, did not have a single issue, have not had a single crash, no texture issues. I know some people have had some falling through the map problems. I did not experience that. Browser worked great from day one. Yeah, I've had no issues. I seem to have been having a extremely good run in recent games that others have experienced some issues. I've had no issues.
What about you, Chicken? How was it?
Right off the bat, in the what is it, the pre-order early release of the beta, I found at the end of a couple of the rounds I was getting some crashing and it didn't save my stats in the battle log. So that's definitely something I hope they fix in the full version of the game. I would expect it to. A lot of people were crying about the whole Battlelog website thing not working right. Even down to not being able to redeem beta keys.
That's
Something
just
like that,
ridiculous.
something like that definitely comes down to user error. Because when first time I opened Battlelog, the site, and I'm poking around trying to do stuff like, oh, I wonder if I got the right version. Well, there's something blinking. Hey, you need to update. All right, how do I add friends? There's something blinking. Add friends here. So how do I join a friend in game? It starts blinking. There's a friend in game. To to miss that stuff, no, it's extremely easy to use, and so far I'm really happy. There are things bug-wise that I hope they improve and fix, which due to the list of stuff I've seen reported and the stuff that they said they're going to fix either in the beta or the full version, I'm extremely happy with their response in terms of bugs.
What did you think, Zero? In terms
Yeah,
of just
no. For me, it's just been performance tweaking. I've had no other issues. Of course, the fact that maybe since they've opened the Caspian border servers, it's a bit difficult sometimes to get into a server because it's so popular. But other than that, no, I've just been tweaking, graphics card and so on. Other than that, no issues.
okay. And here's a big one: the free open beta. Past games that I remember in recent memory have had a pre-order beta, and I honestly wasn't expecting DICE to pull this one out of their hat, but I'm very impressed by their decision, and certainly it's not that buggy as we all can tell. What do you think, Karnat?
I think it was a great idea. I think the idea of making people buy a pre-order or something for the privilege, quote unquote, of testing your game for you is ridiculous. And I have to give props to the publisher and other publishers that actually put a beta out there for people to get their teeth into the game, give them feedback, which is valuable to them, but also have the balls to put their game out there at no cost for people to see, is it any good? Am I going to like it? Am I going to buy it? So I think it's a great thing, and I wish more publishers would do the same.
Chicken, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even for movies, you get to see trailers. So in terms of a movie, you get to see part of what you're going to experience in the full movie with a trailer. And I don't understand why companies have gone away from the demo or the open beta. And in my opinion, it's kind of a shitty thing to do. You should be able to try what you're going to get before you buy it. And in terms of the open beta, it takes balls to put a game out there that isn't really done. Some people might hate on it, but I think DICE is really proud of what they've made. They've made something pretty good, and the beta is only going to help them.
Absolutely, and that brings us to our next point of discussion: interaction. What do you think of the interaction between the community managers Into and all the developers, Twitter, and how do you think they're responding to the community, Chicken?
Well, I don't know about the other developers. I don't really follow them too closely. I have seen some tweets about interactions with the community, but Jinto has done, I think, a phenomenal job interacting with the community. He's been on the whole press tour that they're doing, flying all over the world, and he still has time for even the little people to respond to tweets, emails, and get back to him we've brought up stuff in the beta. I know one of the ones is the squad system. Huge issue with the way they got it working, and he took that to the developers, and they're going to make a change for the full release. So, in terms of community interaction, Jinto right now, in my opinion, is top dog.
I have to say, I mean, I know certain people don't like, they all they want to do is just play the game. But to me, that squad system is very important. I like interacting with my teammates. I like interacting with just people in general, but I like doing it in a squad. And it was always in Battlefield 2. It was great. May have been 6 people, 4 people's just fine, but I always liked being in squads, and I know I always have. I mean, what do you think, Bob? Do you like squads, or do you like the way they have it now, or would you rather it be some way else?
No, I actually think they should have a 6-man squad like they used to too, but definitely need to address the issue of being able to select your squad and the people in it that you want, or join the squad that you want. That was definitely a huge issue.
Well, I think in the beta, the servers, the Caspian border servers, anyways, were full yesterday for the most part, and we had problems, even Souls and I, getting into a game in the same squad together. You have to do a buddy, like you have to create a party outside the game and then join a server together. So the server has to have enough space for the squad crew to go into, and then it's also based on the auto balance, and that kind of sucks because what if you jump into a game with me and Souls later on, and it's going to throw you in a different squad. You can't join our squad, and it kind of just ruins the experience. And let's face it, trying to play with your buddy that's not in your squad in the same server is extremely hard to do. You need to be in the same squad, so not to be able to select your squad really sucked. So I am really happy to see that they are doing that for the full release.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you and I, Chicken, were playing yesterday, and it took us like 5 or 6 attempts to be in the same squad, and it ended up being at the start of the round. That was quite a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, ruins the experience almost.
Yep. Speaking of unabrased experiences, Red Orchestra 2, we've got our next topic, Dinner for Unterslagen, Heroes of Hollandaise. What do you guys think of the popularity? I like those Steam stats, Carnut.
It's been taking quite a drubbing. Not surprising. On the one side, the series has been a pretty niche game, so I never expected a huge community. Their marketing was successful in attracting players of more mainstream shooters that appear to have pretty quickly lost interest. And when you add to that the frankly horrifically incomplete state of the game, on release, it's in much worse shape than the Battlefield 3 beta, frankly, if you're honest. I think has driven a lot of players away. So their player numbers have just taken a pounding, and I think they will continue to until it'll stabilize somewhere under 1,000 players worldwide, and um, the ones that want that particular kind of gameplay and are fans of the series will play it. But I think Tripwire's dreams of breaking into the AAA world were shot down, at least on this release, unfortunately.
Zero, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I'll have to agree exactly to what's been said. The certainly the beta of BF3 has drove some players away, certainly, but even beside that, I think the setting and the World War II setting and so on makes this game very, very particular to a particular audience. And even though they did manage to bring a lot of people to actually play the beta, I think originally, and I think a lot of people actually bought the game too, a lot more than are playing now. Certainly not the numbers that I would have expected, at least a bit more than that. But again, because of the BF3 beta, it's difficult to have a proper view of what it would have been if there was no other games to play.
Well, I think the gameplay itself, you don't really get to appreciate what the game could be because you have to shovel through all the crap with interacting with the whole community and the developers. And if you ever go on their site, it's a big crapshoot, extremely frustrating. And to be honest, it's a turnoff on the game. You don't even get to play the game, and you're already kind of pissed off about it. And in terms of the game itself, I've played the release. It's not what I was expecting. For the longest time, I couldn't wait to play the game. I thought it'd be my favorite game ever. And I feel totally embarrassed about that whole scenario.
Shafted?
I wouldn't say shafted. I didn't buy the game. But yeah, I feel embarrassed that this was one I was really looking forward to. Like, totally, totally embarrassed about it.
My whole issue is, and I know Carnot has written many a blog post on this, but my whole issue is they claim that we need a huge high-end system to run this at max. And most of us in this channel have plenty of high-end systems. Why? I don't know why they're saying it, but it doesn't make sense. Why should a game that looks dated need a high-end system unless the game is poorly optimized?
It's the polygons. They have more polygons than any other game. But I have a pretty decent system, and it, on Ultra, brings it to its knees. And that's not saying something good for the game because visually it's not there. You know, I've played Crisis, the original. That is an extremely nice looking game. Like, super nice. Night and day different over Dinner for Unterschlagen. And it's, yeah, kind of embarrassing that this game, with its visuals, how it can, bring your computer to its knees. It wasn't optimized properly. I don't know the technicalities for it, but it just wasn't what it should have been.
But it's got so much detail and so many polygons.
Yeah, until they took it out because people were crying, and you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I'd like to hear. Rob had an interesting comment. You want to say it about the removal of the certain graphic settings, Rob?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The comment about the car engine you told me a few weeks ago.
Oh, well, the analogy of yeah, it's you buy a car that is promised to be a state-of-the-art sports car, and when you get it home, it barely starts, and they say, well, we had to remove the pistons because it was causing too much stress. So sorry, your motor doesn't run. The bottom line is that I've seen something happen out of this company, and it's unfortunate because I was a fan of the earlier series to the degree that after having played the free mod, I put money down for the production released purchasable version, which I didn't play much of because I'd already played the mod, just to send some money to a team that I thought as amateurs had done a pretty remarkable job with their mod. But they've turned to blaming the engine, blaming the PCs,
The
blaming
end
the
users.
customers. And the bottom line is, unfortunately, I think the amateur status of the company has come through, and they bit off more than they can chew. You need to know your engine as a developer and not blame it. And they tried to build something that the engine was fundamentally incapable of doing. A good developer would have known that and would have either toned down expectations or switched engines. The taking out of components of maps and details and calling that an optimization is bordering on ludicrous, and frankly, in this country and many others, is bordering on being able to get your money back because you're getting what you were not sold and what you were not shown in the trailers. The latest patch, they've removed yet more things, and now it has problems with details popping in at distance. So, like an enemy cowering behind a shrub can't see you because they're behind a shrub. But if you're far enough away, and it's not very far, you can see them fine because the shrub disappears. It's ridiculous. They did themselves a disservice by releasing the game. They should have, frankly, manned up, said it was a mess, and delayed it 6 to 12 months. And their reputation would not have been ruined, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With the 6 month delay, certainly stuff that we could see on the closed beta and so on. not been fixed, have not been worked on as we thought they would be. But I was actually going to say that I was just looking at the live stats there for the number of players, and it has come up a bit now since the big patch. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So it's about 3,000 people now, something like that.
That's not going to last very long.
It's a weekend.
Yeah.
It's a holiday here in Canada, middle of the day, so we'll see how it lasts. I don't know. I still hope that they can, fix what they've put out there, make it worth the money. But at this point, I'm sticking to my original assessment. I would pay $20 for it.
I was gonna pitch off to the panel. Do you guys actually think that this game would have been done given what we've seen from all the bugs, even if it was delayed 6 months? You want to start off, Carnot, or you want me to go someone else?
I think it's possible, and it would also have given them time to rethink their marketing and perhaps lower expectations. And part of the big disappointment from a lot of people is that the marketing hype was extreme, and the trailers showed something that bears no resemblance to the game that was released. I'm not going to come out and say they were doctored, but it's suspicious how poor the real game looks compared to some of the trailers. So they could have reset expectations, and 6 months with some talented developers, you can fix a lot of problems. So I think 6 to 12 months more development work was needed on that game.
And just in the chat here, I see that Toby said that they could have used an open beta, and I completely agree. I would have expected to see a pre-order beta only for somebody like, EA or Treyarch or somebody like that, scalping some extra pre-orders, for a beta key. I didn't expect that from these guys, because this is definitely a game that needed the beta participation. It needed the bug fixes, and to charge, to only get in the beta if you ordered the game is, in my opinion, not the way they should have gone with that.
I think they
That's
were
just
probably they were probably aiming for a few more sales, doing that pre-order only to access the beta. Not that I do agree that it should have been free for anybody to. It gives a good impression of the game, at least of the, if not of the bugs or anything, but of what the game is about. Because as Carnot says there, we had trailers and stuff that looked a certain way, and for example, I was extremely disappointed with the single player. I fired the single player a few days after I got the game, and realized after about 30 seconds that these were bots, and that was the end for me. It was just they were acting silly, and it was just no cohesion. And then I realized also that the maps were actually the same maps as the multiplayer. So I was very disappointed with that. But yeah, no, the beta should have been free, definitely.
so it wasn't a true single player?
No, they made it out to be like a true single player. You play through, not necessarily the same maps. That was, I think the map choices are fine and dandy, but the fact that it's just bots you're playing against is not what they had come out and said. They didn't say we have a single player if you like playing with bots. They said it's a true single player. You'll play through, the campaign on Stalingrad, whatever they called it, and it comes out and you find that it's just bots. That was a little misleading.
It was very misleading. I don't think they thought this whole thing through personally. I think they could have easily done a better job, and maybe they were amateurs, but still, 6 months is a lot of time for even an amateur, or even 12 months to fix your game. Go on.
Well, just the whole beta thing again, to go back to that, they PC Gamer called this one a COD killer, and I have problems with that whole article, and I know Rob definitely does. But for a smaller company that is trying to get their foot in the door with the mainstream games, the AAAs, sure, the game might not be AAA quality. Nobody's really going to fault them for that, as long as they're honest about what it is. And if you're trying to get sales for a niche sort of game, you can't do a pre-order beta. Why are people going to pay money for a game that they're not sure about, don't even know about? And it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand that.
Unless it was marketed and, it's all
It
sales
wasn't
talk.
really
Well,
marketed
Well, and
by.
there's a fundamental problem with doing a beta in that fashion, and that is, I would propose that the majority of people who were willing to pay for a pre-order for the privilege of participating in the closed beta were probably fans of the company and or series already. And a person with that bent is probably going to be more forgiving or look askance at problems they find in the game. And because of that, Tripwire did not avail themselves of direct, honest feedback, which could have prevented some of these issues that showed up in the production game. That's another benefit to doing a true open beta. You're going to get feedback from lovers of the publisher and the developer, lovers of the game series, but you're also going to get feedback from neutral people and from haters. You're going to get more useful feedback, I contend, from a closed beta that is a self-selecting group of people.
Yeah, and the whole crowd that uh, don't even know what to call it. The whole community is policed
foamers.
like a fascist regime to some extent. You're really scared to really speak your mind. I know I don't even go to their forums. Don't think I ever will again. But you're afraid to really speak out because you get stomped on by everybody, including the developers, and that's just a real turnoff to even get involved with the community. Think about playing the game; it just won't happen.
I found one of their comments by the president, John Gibson, pretty funny. He was comparing the sales of the game to cars. He says 850, a million people have purchased a car. 850,000 are having no issues. 40,000 are having engine issues, saying it won't start. They take it to the dealer, they fix it. Blah, blah, blah. He went on to say, that's about like our game is right now. 85% of the people aren't having issues. Now, I want to know, that's a pretty high number for this game when it came out. I seriously doubt that 85% of the people that bought the game were not having issues. What do you guys think? You think it was more like 60%, Chicken?
I'm not the guy to go to for numbers. I know when I played the full release, and yes, I didn't buy the game, but I do have friends and played the release. It ran fine for me. In terms of it didn't crash all the time, which a lot of people were getting, but the visuals were still flashing, glitchy, textures, stuff like the grass. You're looking at the ground on a map and there's grass, and all of a sudden it starts growing. It's like 10, 15 feet tall. What's
That's
up with
pretty
that? And
hilarious.
that's something that I brought up in the beta and was told to reproduce it. Well, I reproduced it, provided the information, and pretty much ignored. Is it because they couldn't fix it, didn't want to fix it, had too many things to fix already? I don't know, but something like that, just not cool.
Let's go on to the next topic, unless anyone else has anything to say about dinner for Unterschlagen. All right, let's go on to Rage. I don't think Chicken has Rage, but I do know Carnot has it. What are your overall impressions, even though I don't think you've played it very much?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just woke up from my rage sleep. All right, look, I wanted to love this game. I wanted to love this game for a lot of reasons. It's developed and published by a group that is known for excellent games. Anything with Carmack's name on it, I have a predisposition toward a positive bias because he's certainly one of the brightest game developers I have personally known. Uh, in looking at the trailers, it had a feel and look to it that reminded me of Borderlands, which is a game I recently discovered that had somehow passed through my fingers, even though it's 2 years old, that I had an immense amount of enjoyment with. Just a tremendous, tremendously fun game for me. Anyone listening that doesn't have that game, that enjoys shooters that have a RPG component, if you don't have it, get it the next Steam sale. It's well worth the current normal asking price. It's a friggin' sin to steal it at the sale price. So I kind of had oh, this looks like what maybe a Borderlands 2 would look like. So I went ahead and pre-ordered it. Uh, Unlike a lot of people in the Steam forum, I have had zero bugs with the game. Absolutely no problems. It installed fine. It runs fine. The performance is great. I've had no issues with textures not having high enough resolution. There are some people claiming that you can force it to a higher resolution. It looks better. I did that and looks the same to me. I think I got the lucky roulette wheel and my game auto set itself to the highest settings. But the game itself very quickly became a bit of a drudge. There just has been nothing in the, I don't know, I've probably played 4 or 5 hours total now, that makes me want to play the game. And in fact, it's almost that it makes me want to stop playing, and I have to force myself to try to give it a fair amount of time. The graphics they're fine. They're very pretty in a interesting artistic sensibility kind of way. It has similarities in its look and feel graphically to something like a Borderlands or perhaps a Fallout. Um, the gameplay is just boring. It just does not attract me. I haven't played any more of it in probably a week. I just don't see myself sitting down going, let's try to give Rage a few more hours. And I usually try to give a game 10 hours before I render a judgment on it because there have been games that start out slow that then capture me. So far, this is not one of them, unfortunately.
Can I ask? I don't have the game myself. Following all the problems and stuff, I said to myself, I'm going to wait for a good patch and so on. But is there not a multiplayer component to it?
There is. There is a co-op component to it, and I believe there's also just a flat-out multiplayer. But I'll be honest, most of the times these days I buy games for the single-player component, so I haven't investigated that at all at this point in this game.
Well, I
Okay,
heard
the reason I was saying this is because I remember watching trailers and tech demos and all sorts over the last 6 months on Rage, and one of the things I was looking forward to was they were advertising some sort of a big multiplayer where the environment would be very big, the world would be very big, and there'd be cars to drive and so on. So that's not there, or is it just that you haven't tried it yet?
Yeah, I haven't tried it. And the
Okay.
environment, it is kind of strange as far as its openness. On the one hand, when you're in the main part of the game, you do have these long draw distances and the world appears and feels large. Although things at a great distance out by the horizon, they kind of have the look and feel to me like an old movie stage where the background is painted on a canvas. I think that may be their artistic intent. But you're actually pretty limited into the areas that you can get to. You'll find a lot of places where you would think you could go to it, but you hit the plexiglass wall and you can't go any further. There's a component to the game where you do race around in vehicles, and you actually have to do that to earn wins to upgrade your vehicles. Those areas are quite large, but you're basically stuck driving around combating the NPC drivers. I'm guessing that in the multiplayer, that's a big component of it because the regular part of the game world would just be too constrained for multiplayer. You'd be on top of each other.
Um, did you guys have anything else to add on Rage, or shall we go on to the Portal 2 DLC? Alrighty, so I know Chick and I, and especially Carnut, have been playing a shitload of Portal 2. What do you guys think? Let's start off with Carnut.
No, I like it. I'm a huge fan of the Portal series. I think it is probably the premier example right now of a thinking man's PC game.
Chicken?
Oh man, so much fun. If they were to come out with new content weekly, monthly, a full co-op campaign or a full single-player campaign, I'd pay according money for it. I think the new release was what, $50, and you got co-op and you got single player. Split it in half for a co-op campaign. I would definitely pay that every month for new content. I love the hell out of the game. I'm gonna have to put out a public shout out to the guys over at CGR. We challenged Jimmy and Bull to co-op challenge mode. Still need their list of maps they want to play, because the game is so much fun. I could play it every day, all day.
I have to agree. I mean, the Portal 2 single player, that was great, but this co-op adds a whole new dimension to it, especially the challenge mode. I mean, it already had co-op when it was released, but the challenge mode, it really adds like at least probably, I want to say 100 hours easily. I mean, you're competing for the best times, and I think what Carnet has something like the top 20 in one map, and you have what, the top 60th or something?
I don't know. Rob, what are the actual stats there?
I'm in the top 20 in the world on a few of the maps, like 4 or 5 of the maps, and Chicken's in the top 100. Uh, yeah, and there's for people that are serious about speed running a map, there's 50 hours in each map if that's your thing, because figuring out how to shave 100th of a second off, you can spend many hours doing that.
Oh yeah, and so those stats, are those including the people that use exploits and stuff, or no?
Yeah. If you take out the players that are likely using exploits and glitches or things like bunny hopping, which is totally legit if you're going to play it that way, but Chicken and I have been playing it using the game physics as intended. Yeah, you could probably shave our positions 10 or 20 spots higher. So I'm pretty happy with our times, and I'm quite sure we're going to just clobber the CGR guys.
Well, we've been practicing. According to their Steam stats, they haven't necessarily been practicing, so, put on the big
Perfect.
boy pants and get busy, guys.
Zero, do you have Portal?
I do have Portal 2, yeah, but I'm not a big fan. I'll be honest. I've played just about an hour, I think, of the single player, and then I stopped. So I have
You
to.
stopped because you got stuck. We know how it is.
No, I think I passed the level, and I just it just doesn't grab me. Maybe I will put a bit more time into it and check out that co-op mode anyway.
Yeah, Toby was saying in the chat, BF3 pretty much owns your life. It is understandable. They're both great games, but in terms of co-op play, you gotta get a guy that knows what they're doing. I play a lot with Carnut, because we just have a blast doing it. But yeah, if you're playing with somebody that doesn't understand the game and isn't really a quick thinker on their feet, it can be a chore. I have no doubts about that.
It's definitely a thinking man's game, and it, as much as I didn't like it at first, I mean, it's really grown on me. That co-op challenge is like addicting. I mean, I think I spent 3 hours on that. What was it? I'm trying to think, but Cube
Cube
Momentum.
momentum.
Yes, and I was learning how to do the portal. I forget what they call it. It's the move that you can kind of
Peaking.
see. Yes, and I have to thank Karna for showing me that, because that was fun as hell. But it's tough on that map, dude. It's like you gotta time it just right.
Yeah, I just like how you can play a map, run it 100 times in a row. You're trying to do something, you maybe pull it off, 1 out of 5 times, and then you screw something else up, you get pissed off, you have to start over again. But when you finally set the time that's better than all your friends, you walk away thinking, yeah, I'm the shit. And then you come back and you've been beaten by like 1/10 of a second. You're just, damn it.
Oh man, I think I remember when you and me were first playing, and then Karnat tranced all our times by like what, 10 or 15 seconds, and then you
Oh,
tranced
yeah.
a couple of. It was back and forth, man.
Yeah, even my brother's in on it now, and he's just like, yeah, I beat your times. You're going to have to play again. I play,
Is he
and
good?
yeah, not bad. Good enough to beat my times, but then I turn around and just beat his. So it'll go back and forth until you eventually set the time that is pretty much as quick as you can do without using exploits and stuff. And then, yeah, but it's so much fun.
What do you are you all looking forward to the Battlefield 3 co-op?
Totally.
What about you, Karnat?
Oh yeah, big time. And I really, really fervently hope that they provide some mechanism, whether it's documented or undocumented, where you can set up a server and throw a bunch of bots on one side and have a bunch of human players acting as a team on the other side, like you could do in Battlefield 2. That is some of the most fun I've ever had playing co-op, stacking the other side 3-1 and still trying to defeat them.
Yeah, I have to say, I remember playing. What was that? Back in May, you, me, and Chicken were playing against like what 30 bots on the other side and like 15 bots on our side. That was a blast. I mean, you were in the jet. Me and Chicken would take the tanks and try to cap all the bases. Unfortunately, I think one of the times we had the AI set to like godlike difficulty. That's
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Rob with 400 kills in the jet. Yeah, no, definitely brought it home.
Yeah, that wasn't the most shining moment on my part. I think I had like 20 kills and 25 deaths. But yeah, I have to say, oh, you were gonna say something?
No, go on.
I was just gonna say, co-op is definitely rising, I think, in games, and we're starting to see that. I mean, Rage has it. Obviously, Portal has it. Battlefield 3 is gonna have it. God knows what else is gonna have it. I hope Skyrim does. I don't know if any of our listeners are looking forward to that game or like more medieval RPGs, but the 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 epicness of co-op is just you get into a game, you have one or two other guys, maybe three, and you can just play. I mean, it's epic. You really don't have to plan much. You don't have to have like a 8 people or 10 people. You just play with your friends. It's great.
Well, yeah, you can see that the co-op element is starting to get something very popular. The Source, the new Source game as well. The Heist, is that what you call it, or the Heist? That's a purely co-op game, I believe, and that's going to come out soon. So definitely they can see a value into it. People are liking us.
Well, now that
Yep.
you bring up that game, I'm gonna have to hate on it a bit. It was supposed to come out on what, the 4th, last Tuesday. I hop online and go to purchase it, and it says it's now available on Steam. So I click to buy it, and then it says available October. The the game just disappears, pulls a Kaiser Soze, and yeah, they delayed it without any sort of announcement, any actual date. I believe just because something to do with the PlayStation functionality. They pulled the PC as well. I don't really understand that move.
Well, hey, at least they didn't release a buggy product.
True, true. But in terms of the game, I think the whole heist thing is pretty cool, and I don't know. I'll probably still pick it up. But
What
in
is it,
terms
like
of
18
gameplay,
bucks?
yeah, I think it was on sale for $18 on Steam. I'm not super wild about the whole slaughtering the cops thing, so I'm not too sure about that. But uh, the heist sort of mentality is pretty cool, and I don't know. I think it'll be worth $18.
All right, so let's take the last 5 minutes of this show. First off, Chicken, I'll give you the mic for the contest.
The contest. We're running a contest? Oh, yeah, we are running a contest. Starting next show, so in 2 weeks from now, we will, uh, for four back-to-back-to-back shows, we'll have a contest page on the website. We will put up a code word just for the live listeners, so you have to listen in live, collect the 4 words, send Souls an email after the fourth one, and put your name into a draw for a free game. And there is also a poll on our website right now trying to figure out what game we should give away. We were originally thinking Battlefield 3, but by the time our contest finishes, anybody that wants the game will probably have it by then.
So you know what that means, fellas. You got to spread the word. You got 2 weeks, and at the start of that 2 weeks, uh, we're just going to keep running that contest. Again, it's going to be on a section of our website, probably in the middle or near the end of the show. We will probably announce it on the show, and just grab the image. If you get all 4, you will be entered into a drawing. And no, Toby, it will not be Modern Warfare 3 for the Xbox. Sorry to hurt your feelings. God. Anyways, any shout-outs? Zeroy, how are you liking Ricochet?
Yeah, good. Good. We'll be displaying some stuff at the GeForce LAN with EVGA. So that's coming up now next weekend, I believe.
How's the game shaping up?
I can't talk much about it, to be honest, because I haven't said to Jason I was coming on the show, so I wouldn't want to say anything that I shouldn't say. So,
Well, you don't
but
have to tell me any specifics. Just how is the game? Do you like it?
oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we're working away at it and spending a lot of time trying to make sure everything works okay and is ready for the GeForce LAN, which will be the first real display of the game, really, as compared to the E3 where the guys were developing, live, but it was early stages and so on. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the reaction of the public is.
Are you the mapper? Like, what is your role? You don't have to
Yeah,
tell me, obviously, the specifics, but
no, I do level design. So I've worked on one map so far anyway, which should be displayed at that GeForce LAN event. So
Okay.
that's what I do. I do the mapping. Yeah.
And so, what does mapping involve for those the people that are listening?
Right, well, I had to sort of learn UDK or the Unreal Engine 3 anyway because I was coming from Radeon COD. So at first it was sort of difficult because one of the things that you have to have with UDK if you want to map, and if you're not a modeler, is you need to have a lot of assets. You need to have textures, you need to have models, things to place in the map, which with COD, obviously, we've got everything from the game itself. But when you're making your own game, obviously, you're starting from scratch, so you've got nothing at all. You don't have a single texture, a single model, so you have to make all that. So there's a good team of guys there working for Ricochet that are making excellent work on the models and so on. And so I've had plenty of assets to work with. And so basically after that, it's a matter of putting a good display of what you want the map to look like and for game flow and so on. And so it's a lot of model placement, lighting, and so on.
Sounds like you're having a blast, but it's a lot of hard work, it sounds like. In any case, I wanted to thank everyone for being on the show. Thank you, Chicken. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem, man. Anytime.
Thanks, Carnat, for showing up.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob. Are you still here?
Yep, I'm still here. Anytime, Souls.
Yep. And Zero's got his mic muted, but thanks, buddy, for coming on at late notice.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
And thank you to all our guests who turned in. And remember, guys, we're going to be running that contest next in the 2 weeks from now. So the show is going to be on the 23rd. Have a good one, guys, and thank you for attending.
So anyway, we're between banks right now. Just make those checks out to cash. Cave Johnson, we're done here.